So I'm going to talk to you about something called spooky action at a distance, which is a phrase that was coined by Albert Einstein. And obviously he was talking about C code. So here's an example of spooky action at a distance. You've got a global variable user ID, and then later when you want to use it, you pluck it from the ether and you use it. That is spooky action at a distance. But we don't want to use C, we want to use a high-level language. So let's have a look at Python. Well, in Python you can do this too. I should point out that I think this is a bad thing. So in Python you can have a module-level variable. You can just stick it into, maybe not the ether, but somewhere with a name, but it's still a globally accessible thing. When you want to use it later, you just pull it out later on. So we don't want to use Python, that's a toy language. We want to use a proper grown-up language. Let's try C++. In C++, well, I mean, we have so many ways to do this, but in C++, we have this way, singletons. You can throw a value which gets lazily created into the ether, and later on you can pull it out. It's globally accessible by one name, but the key advantage of singletons is that there's only one instance of them, like a global variable. So we don't want to stick with C++. C++ is difficult. We want something a little bit more enterprise. Let's have a look at Java. In Java, we can use a user info singleton factory producer factory impl, pull it out of the ether exactly the same way. Now, I wasn't sure how to move on to C#, but I asked Dom earlier, and he said we could try just that we want to use something better. So let's have a look how you might do this in C#. Not only C#, but in C# you can use a dependency injection framework to really obfuscate the fact that you're doing this. So you can throw a value into the ether by type, and later on you can pull it back out of the ether by type without ever mentioning a name. But we don't want to use C#, it's too ordinary. We want to use something a bit more kitchen sink. So we might try Scarlet. Now Scarlet has a brand new language mechanism for you to do this exact thing. You can also, by type, throw something into the ether. This is Scarlet 3, by the way. I learned about it yesterday. You can throw something into the ether by type and then pull it out later on by type. Now it's a magic argument, a magic parameter that you didn't specify, that got magically provided to your function. It's incredibly magic. But I noticed there's a lot of young people here, so we should use something a little bit younger. And we're on to the reason why I ended up writing this rant. So if you want to use JavaScript, and in particular for using React context, we have a new way of doing spooky action at a distance. You can create a context, wrap up your component in that, and then later on when you want to use it, you can pull your value out of the limitedly scoped ether that is your context. And I read the documentation about why you would want to do this. And the answer that the React documentation gives is that you might have a load of components that don't actually use this value. It's just used by a component embedded inside them, which means, in my opinion, they use that value. Okay, so why do we keep on doing this thing? I think the answer is we don't want to repeat ourselves. And what we mean by that is we don't want to keep on providing arguments to functions that we just pass on to other functions. So I want to talk to you a little bit about road signs. So there are not that many good things about the United Kingdom. One of the good things about it is when you start driving somewhere, on a road sign, some of the young people might not know what these are, but they're by the side of the road, they tell you how to get there. Once you've seen Bristol on a sign, you're going to see it on the next sign. Now, as we all know, in some countries, road signs look like this. And I've driven in France, and they don't follow this rule. Sometimes they put a destination on the road sign, and sometimes they just don't bother for a while, which is a little bit like a React context. What I want to tell you is that road signs are useful. You should repeat yourself in function definitions. Function signatures are useful. Do not turn them into lies. Thank you very much.